Good morning, everybody. Welcome to MFCA's workshop. We are so happy to have you all here with us today, especially because we have an amazing educator and guest speaker with us today. Her name is Muneesha Hussain. Um, I will be introducing you to her just shortly in a minute, just giving everybody a little bit time to settle in. As you know, my name is Shona Siddiqui. I'm the program coordinator for our youth, refugee Muslim youth, that many of you so kindly work with and look out for them. And we're just so grateful to be able to address some of these, issues or concerns or anything that we can do to help your journey along with them. So as we get started, I will introduce Muneesha Hussain. She is already with us here in this Zoom room. And our expert today will be talking about finding success and paving the path to success for our refugee Muslim youth that we're all trying to make successful. So I will give you a short bio about her. So Muneesha has been in the field of education for some time and has been teaching for 16 years. She has worked closely with international students, immigrants, and refugees as an ESL teacher and as an administrator. So ESL is English as a second language, as most of you or probably all of you know. And she's also worked as an administrator at an international school in Shanghai. So we're getting a lot of international experience from Muneesha here as well as she speaks to us. Her passion lies in helping students and families assimilate while recognizing the challenges and the barriers and the opportunities presented to them. She has an associate's degree in early childhood development and a bachelor's in teaching, master's in educational leadership from UFM, the University of Michigan. And currently she works as an educator at the public schools in Michigan. So she has also worked at various public schools with a lot of varying demographic populations, including socioeconomic and culturally diverse populations. So we have a real expert here with us today. So feel free to, delve into this topic with her and feel free to ask questions in the chat. I will also be launching a poll here for you all, and I'm hoping that you will all have some time to just do the poll. I believe that the poll has already started there in the background, so more than welcome to start the poll off and do that as Muneesha is being introduced. So we are going to begin in just 30 seconds here and give everybody time to just settle in, finish off the poll, and listen to our expert today on finding success in the classroom. So thank you, Muneesha, for giving your time and being here with us today. We are really looking forward to listening to your expertise here. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for taking out the time to join with us. And thank you so much, Sister Shona, for introducing me and for getting us started this morning. I am super excited to be here with you today. School just started. So yesterday was our back to school first day, and it was a great start to our school year. And it's been a little bit warm, but I think we're kind of waiting for that fall season. Yep. Talking to my students, they were like, when is fall starting? So I think we're all kind of just on the edge of summer coming to an end and fall starting. So yep. Thank you so much again for joining us today, and we can get started. Or are we waiting for the poll, Sister Shona? Or
I think majority of them have begun, and it will probably take a minute or two, but you may begin the presentation now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right, so I have been in the public school systems for about 16 years now. I've worked as an educator. I worked as an assistant principal at Shanghai International School. We moved there as a family together. And that's when I actually learned Mandarin as well. And that was one of the experiences that I wanted to start my presentation today with. So learning a new language and entering a new country gave me that experience, gave me that platform that my students feel when you enter a new country or have language barriers or a lot of assimilation that comes in the process. So moving to Shanghai was easy because everything got packed up. We moved there, and the language barrier was hard. Being an ESL teacher for so many years, I found it super hard because there was no English. Going to the grocery stores, just shopping, there was basically no English, no reception. Like if I said, hello, I'm looking for noodles or pasta or something, there was no answer from anyone. And so I started using my TPR commands, which is like nonverbal cues, just pointing to things and circling or using like papers and just kind of coming up with pictures. Um, Pictures and visuals were my to-go thing. The first thing that actually worked, and putting all of the teaching, the experience, the theory, everything on the side. This was me in a new country, overcoming that language barrier and assimilating. And it really made me feel, oh, wow, this is, this is exactly how my students feel. So I'm glad that I got the opportunity. And I also learned Mandarin. I realized like in a week, in a month time frame, once we started like, settling in with the family and my kids and my husband, we realized that we all needed to learn Mandarin because of, how Shanghai was and how, there was no English spoken there. And learning our new language is not easy, but yes, it can be done. And I always tell my students that if I can learn a new language as an adult, then you can learn a new language as a child really fast. So I think encouraging and building that connection with the student, with your refugee at home is super, super important. So I wanted to start off my presentation by sharing a small personal story, and also by kind of having everybody take away the idea that it's super important to build that relationship and to have that level of repertoire with the student, with whoever, if you're the caregiver and if you have that refugee at home, it's super important to do that. And Sister Shona, I see like a poll quiz, so would you just X that off?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna move on to the next slide, who are newcomers. So MDE, Michigan Department of Education, lists all of these various criterias as to who are considered, these are the various categories of how students are split into newcomers. So we have asylees that travel on their own. We have English learners ages 3 to 21 whose native language is another besides English. So there's a home language survey that all schools are required to send as part of the enrollment packet. And in the enrollment packet, if you check off is the student's primary language another language besides English, then they are classified as ELs, and there's a certain kind of Title III funding that the state allows for English language learners. And then we have foreign born. We have immigrants, ages 3 to 21, not born in the United States. So again, those English learners could be immigrants, and they could be asylees, they could be refugees, it could be any of these categories. A refugee is a person who has fled his or her country of origin due to past persecution based on race, religion, nationality, and political opinion. And then we have SIFE, and we have a lot of SIFE students at my current district because of the socioeconomic status, where students have experienced disruptions and interruptions in their formal education. I have had students from Mexico that have had no schooling whatsoever, and we have enrolled them in middle school. And, so they're coming in with the knowledge of just basically conversational skills in Spanish, no formal schooling or no reading, writing skills in their own mother tongue. So that's an example of a SIFE students. And then we have the unaccompanied youth, the children who come to the United States without an adult. And thanks for MFCA, I had the privilege of volunteering with them, and I was able to go to Star Federal Facility, which is in Albion. And there I worked with the unaccompanied refugee youth population that came from different countries, and we did some workshop with the kids. One of the workshops that I wanted to do was that I did successfully was the trauma-induced workshop. Before doing any faith, religious-based learning, we wanted to target the trauma, and then we eventually kind of molded and tied in the religious aspect of the workshop.
Thank you
Any
for Muneesha. I
questions?
remember, I
You're
do
welcome.
recall you being at the STAR facility, and we were so appreciative at the time because that was what at the beginning when we were receiving so
Yeah.
many unaccompanied youth minors, and it was truly
Yes.
amazing to have you, address their needs at the time because we were trying to figure out how to organize and find out what exactly they need, and you happened to
Yes.
be there at the time, and that
Yep.
was just a golden moment to, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, and one of the memories just popped in. So
Mhm.
one of the experiences that I was able to collect from those students, and being a teacher for me and an educator is learning and sharing, and it's a vice versa thing. I'm learning constantly from whoever I'm interacting with, my students, refugees, and English language learners. So at the federal facility, one of the activities we did was a simple activity. It was just like we had we had some colors and crayons. We all sat down and we talked about feelings. And we wanted to express feelings by drawing versus words. So it's not putting anybody on the spot. Nobody is kind of, feeling pressured that they have to speak in at the time Pashto or Dari, because we had Afghan refugees that we worked with. So we drew pictures of how we were feeling, and there were so many, tears. Some students drew, I still remember these pictures. Some students drew pictures of eyes with tears falling down. Some people drew like mountains and their house back home and their families. So I think this is one of the good strategies to kind of build that rapport with, if you have a refugee child whom you're caring for at home, just kind of, doing like that coloring drawing activity. We're just going to draw. And if they don't speak any English, using Google Translate. And if not, then just using those nonverbal cues. Just taking like a piece of paper, we're going to, draw something, just showing this to them and then putting it down and maybe just drawing how you're feeling, maybe drawing a heart and a thinking cloud just to show like how are you feeling inside and what are you thinking in your head. So just kind of and then maybe you taking on that lead of drawing and sharing how you're feeling. So anyways, those were some of the things. So I think it was very important for us, like one of the strategies was to get the trauma out, share how you're feeling before that religious workshop could start. So I think that's super important to kind of address the trauma as many ways we can. Culture shock. So culture shock refers to feelings of anxiety. Basically, you are in a new place. You're in a new country. Imagine yourself going on a trip to a brand new country. You don't know the language, you don't know the currency, you have to maneuver around, you don't know where the map could be, and you're just kind of learning. So it's just that, that clenching feeling like, oh my God, just that anxiety. Moving to a new country or surrounding. And I felt this when I moved to Shanghai. I mean, being an ESL teacher for quite some time and being, a mother and trying to explain things, I just felt like, oh, wow, how am I going to navigate this? Because there was no English. So I felt the challenge that my students probably feel when they come to United States and come to a new school with new expectations and new teachers, and then probably coming from a new family. I've worked with refugee students. Recently, last year, I had refugee students from Ukraine, and they were in my classroom, and we had to find a way to connect and talk. And so it's super important to understand that students are kind of going through that culture shock. All right, we're gonna quickly watch an assimilation versus acculturation. Sorry about the typo video. And we will maybe have a short, like a pair share or like a kind of a group share, where maybe people can share whatever they've connected with from the video or from the PowerPoint so far. And I know the video is working. So Shona, I think you just have to click on it and then it works. Or else you can just copy, paste it in the browser.
Oh, I see. Okay, view.
Thank you.
Maybe the video. Let's see. Are you able to control it on your end, Muneesha? No, right? Okay, hold on. Oh, there we are. It should.
I have it open on my screen. Would you like me to share my screen or would you like to do
This
it?
is it, right?
What's that?
I think is everybody seeing the video at this point?
No, I don't see it. I don't think others are able to see it. I think you have to kind of do like a screen share.
Okay.
And then click I host
Okay, one
disabled.
second.
Okay. Screen share. And then once you screen share, you have to click on that particular link.
Right.
Yeah, that's okay. You can take your time.
If you have any questions at this point while I
So,
just get
yeah,
that going,
maybe we
let me
can
know.
have people chime in.
Yes.
You know, if you have a question, if you would like to unmute yourself and just kind of share anything that you're connected with or resonated with or have any questions at this point.
Minority culture gradually loses some of the markers that set it apart as a separate culture in the first place.
All right. Are we watching it now?
Yes, yep, we see it. And then maybe if you can make it full screen and then the volume. There we go. Yep, right on the video where there's a yep, full screen mode. There we go. And I'll mute myself.
Whenever two cultures come into more than casual contact, it is inevitable that they will both be
I
changed. There are, of course, variables.
Shona, you might have to increase the volume a bit. Is it full? Okay.
Let's try this.
And then your computer volume, you might want to check because sometimes that can.
Yes.
Whenever two cultures come into more than casual contact, it is inevitable that they will both be changed. There are, of course, variables to this. Which culture is going to change more? How long will it take? Which of the cultural markers will change, and how? Let's take a closer look at how these things work. The most common cultural change when two cultures meet is assimilation of the minority culture into the majority culture. The minority culture gradually loses some of the markers that set it apart as a separate culture in the first place. Markers include things like languages, food, and customs. Eventually, the minority culture becomes almost indistinguishable from the majority culture. However, this scenario leaves out the fact that assimilation is usually a two-way process. Yes, the minority culture does change dramatically and loses cultural separateness, but the majority culture also changes during this process. It's a lot like cooking. When you add salt, it quickly becomes invisible, but the final meal is changed as well. While the looks of the meal may not appear greatly changed by the addition, it is different after the assimilation in recognizable and important ways. If enough of the cultural markers of language, tradition, and food from the minority culture are maintained for the members to be able to recognize themselves as a distinct culture, then it is said to have undergone acculturation instead of assimilation. This type of change is much more likely to happen during voluntary migrations or peaceful coexistence, rather than as a result of the conquest or forced coexistence that.
Okay. Sorry about that. I know that we couldn't, majority of us could not hear that
Yeah.
video. What I will do is I will share the video link with you and the presentation so you could listen to that. Maybe Muneesha can just explain to us what the video was about, and I will share the link
Sure.
with you all.
Yes, 1 second. I'm just gonna paste the link right here.
Yes.
And then let's go back.
Inevitable that they will both be changed.
Uh-huh.
There are characterized.
Is that better for everybody?
Can you guys hear it now? Hold on 1 second. I just did something. I'm a student and a teacher.
Yes, they were able to hear it.
Really, when I played it at that time?
Mhm.
Okay, 1 second. I'm trying to, the link's acting funky right now. Give me 1 second. I'm a teacher, registered to view this lesson. Oh, why is that saying that? I'm a teacher, okay. Back. I'm a teacher. You must create an account to continue watching. Okay. We didn't have to create an account.
So I think that's what we can do is we can share the link with them by email so they could watch that video. But maybe
Sure.
basically you can just go into what assimilation
Yeah.
and acculturation is about.
All right. So, acculturation is assimilation to a different culture, typically the dominant one. And so it's almost like you're in a new country and you are getting part of the new culture. You're kind of getting it all, like you're adhering, you're kind of absorbing, you are taking it in. It's almost like taking it in, and your acculturation process begins. And assimilation is almost like where you are keeping your identity and also keeping some of those thoughts and beliefs, or your whatever perceptions, views that you share, and also joining that bigger bubble of society, whatever society you are being part of. So I really think that I would like everybody to take a few moments to kind of watch the video really quickly, because there are some questions that I wanted to prompt towards the end. So maybe we can take like 1 or 2 minutes just to kind of
Sure.
quickly watch the video. And please let us know if the video link is not working, because it was not working for me. Sorry, I'm at work and my break is over. Okay, so whoever can, and then you can quickly go back to that because we do have time, right, Shona?
Yes.
And we have 4 or 5, yeah. So
Okay. If you're not able to watch the video, let me know and I can share the link with you all. This is the link to the video. Ah, sure. Mm. I'm typing the link to the video on the chat for anybody that is having an issue. I'm just going to type it right here for you all. So you can click on the link. I believe I typed it accurately. Yes, I did. So you can go to the group chat. Okay. All right. Would you like the next screen up, Muneesha, or? Oh, you're muted. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can't see the Zoom link for some reason, like it's just kind of
Oh,
disappeared.
it's in the chat. I put it
Oh,
in the
there we
chat.
go. Perfect.
Yes.
It
Okay.
just kind of hit itself in the background.
Right.
All right, so one more thing that I wanted to share before we move on. First of all, are there any questions, comments, or connections at this point?
Yes, or you could share your questions and comments now, or you could put it in the chat for the end of the presentation, up to you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. All right.
All right, so acculturation and assimilation are terms that are used interchangeably. Yes, in practice, they have distinct meanings and implications. Acculturation is the adaptation process when two or more cultures come in contact. It involves new beliefs, behaviors, and forms of culture of the dominant group in the new culture. It does not require rejection of your home culture. So that key takeaway from acculturation is that it does not require rejection of your home culture. So you're kind of still taking in that home culture with you. The assimilation is often demanded of new immigrants to a society, and it's what students go through. When they come here to the United States as refugees, international students, whatever their category might be, they are going through an assimilation process at the schools. Okay, next slide. And I hope my... Okay, so how can we support newcomers? In my classroom, one of the key activities and strategies we do together is to recognize their culture. What part of the world do they come from? What languages they speak? Are there any unique culture, traditions and customs that they like to share? Are there any clothing that they like to wear or might have with them or might like when they see a picture? So just kind of creating that welcoming environment for students and recognizing their cultural background. And some of the ways that we do that is by hanging pictures of different flags of countries. So if we have, last year we had some students from Ukraine. I've had students from different parts of I have a huge student population that comes from Senegal and various parts of Africa. And those are different countries and they all have different flags. And so students take pride and students feel welcomed and highlighted in terms of their ethnic and cultural background. So it's important to create that welcoming environment. We also do multicultural parties, which I will talk to you about, bringing in different foods from different cultures. High quality program to meet the newcomers, to meet their academic and language needs. Super important to have good program. I've piloted the Discovery Reach program for ELLs. I worked at West Bloomfield School District in the past, and there I got exposed to the Discovery Reach program, and that is an amazing program. So even as a caregiver, if they give out free kits. So if you want to do like flashcards with your child at home, with the with your person that you're taking care of, you can definitely do that to help them build vocabulary. Vocabulary is one of the first key things that comes in play when we are doing the English language acquisition. It is the most building blocks of having emergent speech come out and all of the reading, writing, and all of the different domains of language acquisition. So building that vocabulary, using pictures, that is a key. I've gone to several professional development sessions, but there's a MABE conference that happens every year. There's a special population conference that happens in Lansing. And at these two conferences, they've always time and time again over the last so many years, they've talked about using visuals. Using visuals doesn't have to be necessarily be anything complicated. It could just be your phone. Trying to go to a grocery store, just showing a picture of fruits and vegetables and doing like, we're going to go to the grocery store, using those TPR commands, those nonverbal, body language commands, just kind of pointing out things. Would you like to eat? And then showing maybe a picture. So, and then Google Translate is our to-go thing, translating it in their native language. Social emotional support, super important. Taking out that trauma, especially if they're refugees. And if they're not refugees, then definitely, doing other kinds of activities to kind of help them feel socially, emotionally connected, doing some classroom building. We do a lot of classroom building activities with the students. We basically have like a yarn and we all hold a thread of the yarn and we talk about some of the experiences that, maybe our food or whatever. And the person might not necessarily be able to speak in English. So then we allow for the person to speak in his or her native language. And sometimes they don't want to talk. It's okay. You can just hold a string and we're all connected using that, the piece of yarn. So it shows kind of that connection. And then other social emotional activities that we've done is the drawing picture helps a lot. And then we've also talked about, what country do you come from or what culture do you associate? Because a lot of times, especially with my students now, they're in the United States. So some of them might think that, okay, I'm American now, right now, and I'm not going to, so kind of helping them, kind of being very, so I try to be very careful in terms of not having the student like kind of single out by saying, hey, you come from a different country, because some of them may be right now might associate themselves, part of the American culture, and that's perfectly fine. So whatever the comfort level of the child is. Encouragement and support, just offering that support, constant building of repertoire, talking to them, giving them something that they like. If it's a child, maybe they love, I don't know, coloring. So just having colors for them. Maybe they like to draw. I know Dollar Store and Five Below has amazing things that they sell these days. And, just bringing in some clay, Play-Doh. Maybe they like to do something with their hands. And then, or maybe they like to carve something out of, I don't know, like wood or something else. So just finding what might really be of interest to them. Or it could just be simple, like engaging them in your kitchen, have them cut fruits with you, have them do whatever, you're doing, like cleaning, and just kind of finding different ways to connect. These are some important things to understand. They're not only entering a new country, but they are bringing a new culture, a whole mindset into your world, pretty much. The key is to build a repertoire connection, and communication is super important. Oftentimes, at least just interacting with colleagues, I've noticed like they would think, oh, this child does not speak English, so there's no point communicating with them. They're not going to get it. Well, they do speak a universal language, which is smiling, bonding, connection, humanity. So there is that universal component that does exist. And now when you have students that have not had any formal education, then definitely things might be a little bit challenging. It might be different. But then a lot of these refugee students have had formal schooling, probably in their own mother tongue. So math is a universal language. If you give them, especially if they've had formal schooling, and so I've had Syrian refugee students, and math is a universal language. And every time we have like a math session going on, students know exactly what's going on. They can add, subtract, they got fractions taken, they can do it. Math, they can do it. And so just finding that and giving them that confidence is super important. So even if you're a caregiver and if you have a child, who hopefully has had that formal education, maybe just give them some addition problems just to make them feel like competent and proud of themselves, just helping them build that self-esteem. Hey, you know, I got this, and this just making them feel cool. Lowering anxiety, nonverbal voice, intonation, and smile. This was, I believe it was Stephen Krashen's hypothesis, where keeping your voice intonation down and not being like too, what's the right word for it? For not being like too loud and just kind of repeating it in different ways and just keeping that tone really, really sober and kind of not like even the body language, not going over them. So for example, in the classroom, for the first few days, when I have newcomers, I am literally behind my desk, just to maintain that proximity of space. So I'm not kind of like intimidating them by standing closer to them, because I recall from my school childhood days, like my heart would pound whenever my teacher would be right on my face and she was asking me a question with her eyes popped out with like just, so I try to, and this has worked, if you kind of tone down that body language and tone down that voice intonation and just kind of take your time in repeating. And sometimes I can understand if it gets frustrating. If you're not trying to get that point across, maybe you'll revisit it. Just, smile is the universal language as well. We all, when we smile, it just makes that instant connection. So super important. Making them feel comfortable and welcoming them, labeling classroom or their bedroom. So even though they might not speak English, or might have a level of English that they could maybe be blending the words in, maybe they know the phonemes, maybe they know maybe they have the phonemic awareness, maybe they know the letter sounds, whatever level they might be. It doesn't hurt to get those, I think Staples and in fact, I saw them at the dollar store too. They have those peel-on stickers where you can just write down bed, B-E-D, bed, and then put a sticker right by their bed. Take out like a sticker, write down chair, put a sticker right on the chair. Dining table could be a table, just writing down the word table and just putting it there. And then when you're sitting, you can just go over that and say, this is the word table and this is table. Kids pick up language, vocabulary, and words so much faster. And there's research all over the place about it, that kids' brains are like sponges and they absorb new information instantly. So just some of those just labeling, I think, is a great way to kind of help students or your children that you are caring for. Visuals, we talked a little bit about that. So super important. Just using the phone, or if you can print out pictures, just putting some pictures. And Discovery Reach program has a newcomer kit. They do offer like free giveaways as well. So I would just really call the representative, whoever the customer service number, or go online and request like a newcomer kit if, and they might be just kind enough to maybe mail you out one, because at schools they do. Before we've purchased the program, we've always asked for like some freebies, and they definitely have some of those freebies to give away. And so they have picture cards. They have large index cards with fragments of sentences, like shorter sentences, like, how are you? How is your day going? With sometimes fill in the blanks. So there's different kinds of things that go under that category. Pronouncing their names right. I think that's important. And I struggled with this yesterday. In fact, was the first day back to school. I've had some students that I'm still kind of, learning their new names, because new school year has started and we're just kind of learning how to pronounce their names. It makes them feel nice, it's just a nice way of, sometimes if the name is too hard, then I literally tell my students, like, I'm really sorry, but I'm struggling with pronouncing your name. Is there a way that I can maybe say a chunk of it? Or like, is there like a nickname that you go by? Or if there's a name at home that I could use? And sometimes they're pretty open. They're like, yeah, that's fine. And if not, then I practice and I make sure that I get their names right. recognizing the cultural background, multicultural text. We talked a little bit about that. Flags, maybe you could do an activity with even getting a poster board, drawing a map of whatever country they've lived in, printing out some pictures of foods that might be unique to them, and putting the pictures of foods and then clothing. And then any kinds of celebrations that might be unique. Like I've had multicultural presentations from students where we've had some students do poster boards, some have gotten to the point of creating PowerPoints, but it's just so much of learning because then you get to, oh, soccer is played in this particular country and it's called so and so. And then I remember one of my students last year from Ukraine talked about this custom, and I can't remember the name of it, where they sang songs under a tree, and it was like a certain holiday, and I can't think of the name. So it was kind of cool, just kind of, so it gives you an opportunity to learn as well. Speaking a few words in their language. I think that's very nice. If you can go to Google Translate, just find some of those words that, and speak some of those words to them, and they pretty much would make them feel special. That the caregiver is trying to, understand that they speak certain word, that they speak a different language, and they're kind of just thank you. Or like shishia was the Mandarin word that is still comes to my head. Shishia is like thank you in Mandarin, and then bukachi is you're welcome. So like those kinds of words, those are easy words. And ni hao is obviously hello in Mandarin. And then, so with the Afghan refugee students, I think Khuda Hafiz was one, or no, was it Shabba Khair, or I have to. No, there was like, I can't remember. So before I went to the workshops, I made sure that I learned their greeting. So it kind of makes them feel, and the smiles that come on their faces are precious. Like towards the end, when you recognize and when you say it, like goodbye in their language, their face glows up. And it's almost like, they feel that connection with you. Oh, it's just kind of cool. So just kind of speaking, displaying their work. So if they're drawing pictures, if you're the caregiver, if they've made something, if they've painted something, and maybe they're not artists, maybe they like to write a poetry in their own native language. Maybe they like to cook a dish. It doesn't necessarily have to be an expression of art. It could be anything and everything. Maybe they like sewing. So just kind of picking out and finding out what their interests might be, and doing something that they can relate with. So that connection is super important.
Thank you, Muneesha. These are just such amazing
welcome.
things. I mean, you don't need a whole lot
welcome.
to let people know that through language, and not, I mean, beyond language, just our body and our gestures, sign language, and a smile, like you mentioned, all of these just go a long way.
Yes, absolutely, they do. And it's just making that connection is so super important. So stages of language acquisition.
I will make this more clear when I send you the slides.
So we have the pre-production stage, 0 to 6 months, nonverbal. So these are how my newcomers are. When they come to the classroom, a lot of them, the newcomers, like students that speak no English, they are labeled as newcomers, and they basically have no words. They're nonverbal, and they go through a phase called the silent phase, and that's okay. If they are silent, they don't want to talk. Maybe you're the caregiver, you have a child that you're caring for, and they are not speaking and they're nonverbal, that's okay. They will come around. It will take their time. Just because they're nonverbal does not mean that they cannot think or read or write. There's just probably a lot of trauma that's inside, or maybe it's their personality. Maybe they don't like to talk a lot. And so it's just, I remember having at West Bloomfield School District, I had quite a few students from Japan. And in the culture, in the Japanese culture, just out of respect to teacher, you don't talk a lot. And so it took me a while to understand because they would just be staring at my face and I would think, am I making sense? Like, are they even understanding what I'm saying? So sometimes even understanding the cultural norms, every culture has a cultural norm. Being polite, not speaking in front of boys in the classroom. I've had different kinds of cultural norms. Being polite to the teacher, not, it's considered a form of respect in certain cultures. And so that understanding that cultural norm is super important. And then not necessarily that all of the ELL students or the students that you're caring for might go through these particular stages, like starting from stage 1. There might be some students or students that you're caring for, kids that you're caring for that might not be in the nonverbal category. Maybe they love talking and they're going to talk in whatever language they can. Maybe their primary language is, I don't know, like Arabic. And maybe they are just going to keep talking in Arabic. And that does not mean that they're not going to learn English. It just means that they're going to take their time. And eventually that the vocabulary building and recognizing of letters and alphabets and phonemic awareness will start. Early pre-production, 6 months to 1 year. There's a limited comprehension, 1 to 2 words expression or responses. Then we have speech immersion, 1 to 3 years, where they start using simple sentences. So in the world of teaching and education, we come across these 2 terms. They're called BICS and CALP. So BICS is basic interpersonal communication skills, and CALP is cognitive academic language something. So BICS basically essentially means, and I'll be sharing a resource towards the end where that resource also talks about BICS and CALP. So BICS is basically students pick up, hey, how's it going? Hello, the playground language. It's termed as the playground language or the cafeteria language. Kids pick on that fast. Hey, how's it going? Or it could be like, what's up? Goodbye. And just those kind of common terminology. And CALP is more of the formal language. That's the more concept-based. So pollution, population, or pollination, and different kinds of maybe, subject-related vocabulary. So that's the formal that students develop. And it roughly takes students, according to research, BICS comes in faster because it's the common playground language. And it starts from right when they have entered the country to about 3 years is when they start emerging, like, hi, hello, how's it going? Those kind of just the regular speech that we see students in the cafeteria or in the playground. And then the CALP research says that it takes students anywhere between 5 to 7 years. So just because a student is not understanding the term at home, maybe you're teaching them something that they're learning from home, or it might take time, and that's totally okay.
So in the interest of time, Muneesha, thank you so much for
Yes.
explaining those language acquisition. We will not watch this particular video, and I'll send it to you through a link that you can acquire, because I want you to have time with Muneesha for questions and for her to explain some of these resources.
Yep, so Colorado has a bunch of stuff for caregivers, for teachers, for educators, for parents, for everyone. That is a great website. I definitely would like to point that out. The second one is our MDE's Newcomer Toolkit that also has amazing resources. And then the third is another good website, but the first website is highly recommended. And I think it's more also for you to be, it's more like accessibility wise. I think Colorado is very easier for whatever level. All right, so I'll open up the room for any questions, comments, connections, concerns.
Yeah, so Muneesha, as you all know, is an educator for some time. So this is a great opportunity to take advantage of her being in the classroom where your youth are going and how to figure out, how can we look out for opportunities for them, and how can we, address some of the struggles that they're going with their learning process after arriving here. So I know that some of you had sent questions, so I'm just gonna go through a couple of the questions, but the ones that you have here today, please either speak up or type it in the chat. And I'll just give you a moment to do that while I ask for some of the questions that you sent to me ahead of time as well. So one of the questions I think are, Muneesha, what can some of these caregivers that we are talking about or talking to that are with us here today, foster parents, caregivers, when they have their Muslim refugee youth going to school what are some of the steps they can take to get their youth comfortable in the classroom and in the school overall?
Talking to the teacher, talking to the building administrator, super important. I think it's important to have that communication piece going on. Just if the student observes fasts in Ramadan, making sure that you send an email to the administrator, calling the school. If they observe prayers,
Yes.
finding that space and, this is their constitutional right. It is also part of the ESEA Elementary and Secondary Education Act for students to have this expression. So there's nothing wrong in emailing and asking or calling. My first, definitely ask the teacher, teacher is your first level of contact, and just, communicating whatever their needs are. So I've had students that we've had in Ramadan, we've had to have a certain space for them where they are not sitting in the cafeteria with the rest of the students. And the school has provided a paraprofessional who watches these students who are, or spends time with these students while they're not, engaging in probably the food activity that the other students are. And we also have a small room in the counseling center where students take passes from the classroom teachers to go and pray at different times of the day. So it's allowed, it's normal. There's nothing wrong in asking. There's nothing wrong in communicating.
That's
So,
great. Thank you so
yeah.
much for that. So I know that some of the way to get them, acclimated in the school system, as you mentioned many times, was to make sure that they're comfortable with their culture and their faith in the school. So would you recommend that the parent or the caregiver talks to the school about, making accommodation for prayer times or dietary restrictions or anything of that sort?
Absolutely, yes. That communication element is essential. Also setting up a time with the school social worker or the school counselor. Just kind of if you have those concerns where you want to sit down and talk about, halal food options or any kind of restrictions, food allergies, or any kind of things that you might be noticing. If there's any special need concerns, maybe you're noticing that the student might need some special services. Just setting up that time and just kind of communicating, just sharing whatever is on your mind, and just not feeling like, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't be talking about this. Nope, just schools, administrators, teachers, social workers, psychologists, caseworkers, we are all there to help, and everybody loves, to help, and just finding different ways and means, and just kind of, I recall when Shona shared some of the questions, it was also the element of bullying and how to empower students from speaking if the refugee students are possibly going through some of that stuff. So definitely, talking to that student at home, telling them that, they don't have to go through that with anybody, the bullying aspect, and just kind of sharing with them that it's not right. Maybe put on a video of bullying, sit down with your with the child at home and watch a video together. Bullying, what to do, speak up. Translate the word speak up in Google Translate and say speak up. Maybe draw a picture. Is somebody bullying you at school? Are you happy at school? Are, just showing happy. Are you happy at school? And then showing a picture of school. So just kind of finding different ways, whatever works, and every child is different. Just kind of finding out different ways to kind of have them share, and also setting up those meetings, going with social workers and school psychologists and counselors, and the teacher is really one of the best resource, I think, to get started with. It's kind of the first line in command to kind of, because they interact with the child every day. They see the child every day. So
Absolutely. Thank you for
yeah,
that.
you're
And I
welcome.
guess that will go the same for if the parent or caregiver notices that they might need like special education needs. Would that be also addressed in terms of special education needs for the youth, but also taking into account the culture and the language barriers as well?
Yes, both. So when we have special, and we do have some special education students that are ESL. And so the ESL teacher and the ESL director, the English as a second language person is also part of the meeting, along with the special education team. And so we come up with a plan that works best for the child. This is common for schools to have. It's not something that's, I mean, all schools have students that come in varying diversity with different backgrounds, with different needs. And some of those needs could be special education-based needs. Some of those needs could be language-based needs. Some of those needs could be social emotional needs. So schools are equipped with providing resources and whatever is needed to help the child learn and acquire the maximum full potential in terms of learning both academic and social.
Excellent. I did have a question coming at the very end this morning, Muneesha, and I'll ask it, which was, a foster parent was wondering, can you actually approach the school system to ask for a class or an orientation session for your refugee Muslim youth about, understanding American culture a bit better? You spoke a little bit in your presentation about, different ways culture responds, like, respect in a classroom towards teachers. A lot of what we're seeing is also different attitudes towards genders and addressing women or men separately, or the division of sexes in their culture and society. And some of these youth have misunderstandings as a result of that when they come here. So is there anything in the classroom in terms of resources that you can request or ask for, or an orientation session?
Absolutely, you can. And they have to. They have to provide whatever the child needs. This is just the law. You have to meet the needs of the child to have to provide whatever the child needs according to the ESE, which is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Now, so at our school district, we've done turkey baskets. We've done welcome kits. So when a new family signs up, they usually go to the enrollment packet, which is the central office, and there is the ESL director, and every public school system has an ELL department. There is, or at least a language department, or at least something. And now ELL has become so common across districts. Like at the conferences, we come across like districts that you might think are not diverse, and they all have ESL teachers. So welcome kits provide students the opportunity to kind of, have different resources in the welcome kit. There might be books, there might be clothes, there might be some basic things in it. And then an orientation session is also provided depending on the district. So some districts might have a formal orientation session, while others you can just ask. Doesn't hurt to ask. You can just say, I would like to have an orientation for me and the child, where we can get a walkthrough of the school, the classroom, meet the teacher, and the welcome or the back to school night, which is coming soon across many schools, is definitely a great night for parents to go and attend, because it's basically back to school curriculum night. It's back to school. You can walk through the building. The child can go with you. And if they don't allow their kids, sometimes some districts just prefer parents come in, then you can set up a time. When you enroll this child, so whatever you want can be done. So there is nothing that cannot be done to make the child comfortable. So you just have to, again, that communication, just tell them what you like and what you need, and they will do that. And then we also have like pairs. So when I have newcomers in my classroom, and I know we're running time, we're kind of right at the mark of time. I'll just share this quickly. So when I have newcomers in my classroom, we start with a tour of the building. We go around seeing where the bathrooms are, where the cafeteria is, where the music room is, where the library is. So my students know where to go and they're not lost and they don't feel. And then I have a peer buddy that I assign who might speak more English or who I've known for the past few years. And even in the classroom, I can tell, like on the first day, there might be some people willing to help other kids, let's go to the locker and I'll show you how the locker combination works. So just having those kind of support systems for the child is super important. So ask the school if there's like a peer that they can connect with outside of school, where they could play together. And that helps a lot. I've had some of those Ukraine refugee students in the past where they've had amazing, amazing friends, helpful friends, outside of school.
That's great. Thank you. And thank you to the parent who asked that question, because now we know how to approach the school about, some of these issues and struggles and how to make them successful and actually take advantage of the opportunities. So,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I loved it, Muneesha, that you mentioned the peer system, because, having a buddy makes a
Mhm.
whole lot of difference, I'm sure, in their
It
outlook.
does. It's
Yeah.
amazing, like having that,
Mhm.
kids connect with kids at a different level than they do with adults. So
Yeah, great way to have someone, look forward to going to school. So thank you so much for all the tips in your presentation. It was definitely insightful, and I think everyone here appreciated that. And thank you to all of you for attending. MFCA will share the presentation with you. MFCA will share the video links and also a recording of this session. So if you missed parts of it, and I thank you for your patience during some of the technical video sound, but hopefully you'll be able to view it on your own as well. If you have any questions other than what you asked today, please send them on to me, and I'm sure we can get responses and answers to you as well. And we'll share extra resources to you on your local city for schools and local libraries that can help you as well. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Muneesha. We are so
most
grateful to you for your expertise that you shared with us today. Really appreciate it.
most welcome. Thank you so much, Shona, for allowing me, and most MFCA for allowing me the platform to share my learning and to connecting with you all, folks. Have a great rest of your day.
Yes, appreciate you
Thank you.
all. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.